Kirk is a pioneer chef and the co-founder of Plates, a plant-based fine dining restaurant in London. Known for his innovative approach to plant-based cuisine, Kirk has made significant contributions to the culinary world by being the first ever plant-based chef to participate in the Great British Menu competitions in 2021 and 2024. And was recently, just now, named Champion of Champions by winning the regional and finals of the Great British Menu.
And I remember my best friend coming down from up north and saying to me, "Kurt, you look so ill. We worried about you because I was so skinny." Still got the picture now. And like bags under my eyes, you know, I was so young as well. And back then I knew nothing about health or anything. I was just surviving. I was eating a pot noodle and cheese toasties and KFC at 2 a.m. because that's all that was open, just to feed myself, you know, and survive. If we take someone like Gordon Ramsay, who's, don't get me wrong, is an incredible chef, but we've put him in mainstream media on all these channels, shouting at people on Hell's Kitchen, right? Are you going to be watching that program and go, actually, when I leave school, I want to be a chef?
Certainly not. Kirk, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That is amazing. And also thank you so much for coming on and, you know, sharing, talking to me right after this super monumental win.
No, it's a pleasure.
So I want to start by asking you something that interests me and has always interested me. And you are the first chef ever on the podcast. So,
oh, really?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to have a chef.
You need to get some chefs on.
Yes, I know, because I feel like you're a particular type of artist.
Oh.
So if you had to say, what would you say is the essence of a chef?
The essence of a chef, I mean, I always say, if you want to be a great chef, you have to cook with passion. So it's like your soul, your heart, your passion. I don't think you can do cooking if it's just a job. I don't think you're going to get to a really high level unless you really put everything into it, because it's so demanding. And you're showcasing kind of yourself, right? You're creating, and you have to give everything to it. So I'd say like passion, soul, energy, drive, commitment.
Yeah. It's not a job, it's a path, a
Yeah,
life path.
It's a way of life.
Yeah. Interesting. So what does food mean to you?
My father's a chef, so food's been a big part of my life since I was, you know, a baby. So food's kind of everything to me. I don't think I could probably live without, I can't imagine doing anything else, like, at all. You know, some people say, oh, if I didn't do that, I could do that. For me, it's like this or nothing. So like, cooking is literally my life. I don't really know how else to really say it. I can be having conversations, socializing, but I'm thinking about an idea with food. So I never really stop thinking about food. It's kind of, and sometimes maybe that's not a good thing. We will talk about health probably
being
later
present.
on. Yeah, being present. And yeah, but I just, for me, it's like, and I want to try and talk about this more within our industry, that if we can really connect to cooking, it is a form of therapy. You know, I think we've kind of created an industry where it's kind of been stressy and chaotic and all these things, which it always is going to be pressurized, because if you're cooking at a high level and you've got, you know, running a business, you've got bills to pay, it's stress, right? Yeah. But I think my job is, for people that work with me or under me, is to really create this kind of new calmness where people love what they're doing, they're happy, and they're not coming to work anxious. They're coming to work happy and excited to create. And that's kind of my philosophy.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, so what really makes you different? What makes Plates different? What is that philosophy that you have that sets you apart from, you know, other restaurants, most of the other restaurants?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is through what I went through in my health, which completely tipped my life upside down and then changed the way I viewed the world, viewed food, and viewed my vision for the future, which we'll talk about. So yeah, what makes us different? I try not to follow what anyone else is doing, and I try to do the opposite. And my philosophy is like, we have to do what nobody else is doing. When we are creating, it's like we have to constantly think to try and create new things. We can't just cook that beetroot the way that other 3-star chefs cooked it. That isn't good everything. We have to find a new way.
Freestyle, not even classic, freestyle.
Everything has to be a new way.
Yeah.
And we don't stop until we find that way. And that creates a real raw uniqueness around our style and our cooking. And I kind of challenge everybody around me to think like this. And you don't get it right sometimes. You don't get it right for mums sometimes. But that process is all part of it. We must think more.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love how you said that, because it's in the word itself, creating. Like, you're not there to copy. You're not there to, read the instruction and execute. You are there to create something completely new, and that obviously results in a different experience for people that work there for you, with you, and it results in a different experience for the people that ultimately taste the food. They taste the process. They taste the whole process in that one plate.
Yeah, and I really think with food, this could be on any platform, whether you go to Italy and eat a pizza on the side of the street, you can really tell if someone cares. The same if someone makes a smoothie, or it can be very baseline things, but you can really tell if that person cares. Like, when you eat that thing, it should connect to you, it should boom like an arrow straight in your heart and be like, wow, this chef really cares about giving the customer the most beautiful experience. And that's what I'm trying to do. And hopefully that people can connect to me on that. And I think when people watch the show, that's why people connected to me, because I'm not trying to be anyone else. I'm very emotionally driven with food, I'm not going to lie. And I care a lot. And I think when you put that into your food, people can really feel it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that you're saying that, you remind me of all the times that my mom would say, never cook when you're angry, never cook when you're in a bad mood, energy transmits to food,
Frequency.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's crazy that it's not spoken about more often. She's an artist, she's a painter by craft. So she absolutely uses the same thing when she only paints when she's almost, she says, like, she's almost in an ecstasy of this love, like, that she wants to then put on canvas, and then for people that can eternally then look at those paintings and receive that energy that she's put in there, encoded in that painting, right? So it's very similar, she was always saying about food. So it really does resonate. And I think, even globally in the world, there's this old saying that the secret ingredient in mom's food is love, really. That's why it tastes so good, right?
It's true. Like, my granny used to make apple crumbles, and I still can't make it like she used to make it. And we just don't try, because I can have exactly the same recipe, because it's a feeling. I can give 10 people my recipe, and I guarantee you every single recipe will be different, because cooking it's a feeling, it's your hands, it's connected, and it's all those things. And that's why I think cooking is such a beautiful thing. If we take it in a simplest format, in terms of like marriages or relationships, right? Most houses, especially in the olden times, it was like, the man goes to work and the woman cooks and blah, blah, blah. But I really think there's a real connection missing here, because if two people that are in love cook together, this is really connected in their relationship, right? It's like, you put music on, right, I'll cut the onions, you get the pans out, we'll make a cup of tea, whatever. And it can really like make that relationship stronger. And I think it's quite separated with food, because it's not looked at as such, I don't know, and this has been really connected to me through my health journey, is that like food is such a special thing, and how we connect to it really kind of absorbs within ourselves. Like you said, if you're angry or all those things, or when you eat and you really, have grace and you connect to that food and you're grateful and you say thank you.
How much more nourishing is it going to be and beneficial?
Yeah. Where if we go to prep and ram it down and then go to work 5 minutes later, your body's not absorbing it the same.
Yeah.
Factually, but I get we're all living in a crazy world. I'm not perfect. I still have to eat on the move sometimes and stuff like that. I think finding balance of life is the hardest thing to master.
Oh, I love that you say that. Balance is on my mind a lot lately.
I can't master it, so I'm
Can
going
I
to be
say
honest.
something? Can I say something?
Yeah.
I genuinely do believe, I've been thought about this so much, and over the time, I'm always in this pursuit of this perfect balance between work and health and social and sleep and hobby
And giving to yourself.
and learning and giving to self and giving to others and staying quiet and having quiet. There's a lot, right, on the plate to balance out. So genuinely, from, my 30 years of life, I think that there truly never is perfect balance. And that is, so if we look at life as this kind of line, right, that's always going up and down, up and down, up and down, and we can say up, down being as you feel better or worse, right? It's never static, because by definition, and should it be static? It cannot be static, because it's only static if you're dead. quite literally. So it will always be fine-tuning, adjusting, readjusting, external factors influencing that line. If you're alive, you are moving and you're in movement. All the variables are in movement. All your variables are in movement. So by definition, you will always be at some point of that line, whether more up or down. Also depends what's your baseline. What's that ground zero?
Yeah, everyone's got different thresholds,
Exactly.
right? What they can take or their work-life balance and them sort of things.
Yeah. So I think
Interesting.
we should relinquish the false stereotype that there is one perfect static balance that we can just encapsulate ourselves in and stay there. I think that's a super duper duper myth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And just embrace the motion.
Yeah, and I think life's so, like you said, there's external things and internal things. And we just have to kind of ride those waves, don't we? That there's good and bad.
And enjoy.
I try and look at now, I try and look at bad the same as the way I look at good. I sit with it and go, okay. How I react though, I can still laugh even if it's bad, right? But it's if we just have to catch ourselves, which is very difficult, especially when you're so passionate, you care about what you do. If something goes wrong, you're But what you've got to realise, what I've done, it's 2 + 2 = 4 anyway, right? So it's happened, we can't change it. So we can just kind of catch ourselves before we react. So me getting angry over someone that's burnt a sauce, let's say.
That's going to change anything.
But you know what it's going to do? It's going to make my immune system weak. So only person that's suffering from getting angry and stressing at other chefs is myself.
And other chefs as well.
And other chefs.
And the food, because it's absorbing the energy.
Of course.
So actually there's very high consequences of getting angry.
Where we have created a world, especially in the Michelin arena, where, when I was cooking, that was kind of, that's how everyone was. And, I used to be scared to death of overcooking a piece of fish. If I overcooked a piece of fish, I was like, oh my God, what the hell is going to happen here?
Which doesn't paradoxically just create a market where no one really cooks fish that well because everyone's petrified of making mistakes?
Yeah, it's such a difficult one to master, because I'm trying to always work on myself of how I manage people and getting that fine line of, okay, we have to be perfect about what we do and we have to have a level of discipline, but we have to be understanding and fair. It's getting that balance so then people work to the level you want to work to without needing to do any of that rubbish, because number one, life's too short, and number two, all those consequences that we spoke about.
Yeah.
And it's how we get people motivated and to work for us without needing to be that type of person.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's about 15 things that I want to take a spin off and discuss further. But since we're on this topic, and we discussed this also earlier, kind of about the work environment and the toxicity of, a standard chef's journey in their career. You started many, many years ago, and you've worked for these incredible 2-3-star Michelin star restaurants. How has your experience been back then, and how do you see the industry has evolved maybe over time when it comes to the, let's say, employee experience?
Yeah, it's a very interesting one and a deep, complex question, because I do think we have come a long way in this industry, and I think our industry gets a lot of bad rep, more than it deserves, to be honest. It's like if you say, oh, I'm a chef, they think you automatically are doing drugs and drink and all these things, right? When all sorts of industries do that also, right? It's almost like when we talk about our generation, and kind of there's a lot more people healing generational trauma, right? It's I see this as our generation is changing the way we look after people and treat people. We're not just carrying on from the last generation because that's how they did it and that's how they got 2 Michelin stars, right? Because we automatically think we need to act like that to get 2 Michelin stars. And for me, I don't care how many stars you've got. I want to know how you treat people and how kind you are, because I'm not bothered. I'm not here to hang around with people just because they've got stars. That is not for me. But when I was training, I did work in some really good kitchen. I had some really tough. I came to London at 20. I'd worked an apprenticeship for my dad for 5 years. My dad is a very hard man, very disciplined.
And he's a well-known chef as well.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody kind of knows my dad.
Have you ever had that thing, sorry to interrupt you,
of had it.
following in the
Yeah,
the
I still
shoes?
get it now. We can talk about that too.
Okay.
Like Nigel's son and all these things, which is great, but I've been trying to, this is why I think my food's so potent right now, because no one can say, oh, your dad did that, or you're only there because your dad. When I came to London, I got it all you're only here because of your dad, but you only got a job here because and I got quite quite badly bullied in my first restaurant in London, and it was very tough because I come from a restaurant up north where everyone was kind of friendly and nice to each other. There was, you know, it was high standard and discipline and things like that, but it wasn't so intense. So I came to London at 20. And I really struggled with the hours. I really struggled with my health. Back then I was working, we started about 7 o'clock in the morning. I was on the pastry section back then, so I would get home about 1 a.m. straight through. And we never really had time to...
When do you sleep?
Yeah, I used to live in Shepherd's Bush then, so I'd miss all the tubes, so I'd literally spend my salary on just getting a taxi home because I'd be so tired, sleep 4 hours, come back. I had lived in a tiny bedroom with 14 other people because, you know, we weren't getting paid so much and everything was so expensive. And I would just work and I would just sleep all day on my day off on a Sunday. And on a Monday, I'd go to the laundrette, put my washing in, watch it spin round, fall asleep, go back home, and that's all I'd do. For 3 years, I did that in London. And that's what basically I was so...
This is what year?
Oh God, I'm 36 now and I was 21 then. 20. Okay. Well, I started at 20, yeah, so 20 to 23. And I remember my best friend coming down from up north and saying to me, "Kurt, you look so ill. Like, we're worried about you," because I was so skinny. You still got the picture now. I was so skinny and like bags under my eyes, you know, I was so young as well. And back then I knew nothing about health or anything. I was just surviving. I was eating a pot noodle and cheese toasties and KFC at 2 a.m. because that's all that was open, just to feed myself, you know, and survive.
Shouldn't you be given good food at a restaurant?
So we are, and that's another thing we talk about, but then when you're in a kitchen, you're putting your heart, soul, passion, every single thing into this food for people that we don't know at the other side of a wall. And then we're treating ourselves with so much, with nothing. It doesn't make any sense, which was a big awakening moment for me when I got very sick and all that sort of stuff. I see so much change in our industry for the better. I see it's so positive now. And we just have to basically create an environment where more people want to come into this industry, especially women. We need to create an environment that's safe for women, understood for women, and kind and generous, and make people feel special. You know, I think a kitchen is such a beautiful space, and a restaurant's such a powerful thing. You know, if you think about the world, you're feeding someone. If it's your birthday or your wedding or whatever, you're coming to celebrate, right? And if that food's bad, it's going to change your emotions. Yeah. If your food's good, it's going to make you feel happy. Right? And then it goes on to a more joyous thing. If you have a bad meal, you just want to go home because you've paid a lot of money. Whatever. If you have a beautiful meal, you're like, oh, let's go for a drink then, you know, with your partner or whatever, because you're like in a good mood, or you wake up the next day and you're happy. So I want to create an environment that is just full of happiness and drive and creativeness, and a team of family members. I look at it as family, where like everybody just supports everybody, and everybody wants to win. Like, I want the people that work for me to be better than me when they're my age. Like, it's no competition for me. I want to pass on that thing, and I'm not here, you know, I want my sous chef in 5 years' time to be better than me. Then and I think that's how it should be, where it's not this power thing. Yeah. Where like, I'm the head chef, you can't come over this side of the pass, you can't. That's put that
very
there.
Different perspective than I'm hearing, for sure. Around.
And I think if you look what kind of we've done with cookery, if we take, you know, and I get it because it's TV, but if we take someone like Gordon Ramsay, who's, don't get me wrong, is an incredible chef, but we've put him in mainstream media on all these channels shouting at people on Hell's Kitchen, right? So you've got to think, if you're a 15-year-old girl and you're watching that program, let's take you for instance, Dana.
Never.
Are you going to be watching that program and go, actually, when I leave school, I want to be a chef?
Certainly not.
Okay, so this is the thing that, for me, we need to change, right? We need to do TV shows where we see chefs looking after chefs, creating with perfection, but also getting to the end of perfection without needing to do any of that stuff. Yeah,
and having just a beautiful team experience and like a collective growth. Yeah. It's like you said, having your friends, your family, not by blood, but by choice, working together. I think that's wonderful. You know, as I've gone through life, I've often pondered, you know, the best thing that you can have really is to, at some point, just start working with your friends, your lifelong friends. Yeah. How nice is that, right? So if you can be in an environment that replicates that, then your work really isn't work anymore. Your however 8, 10, 12 hours that you need to work, how important it is that you get along. And so obviously then it's down to whoever restaurant it is to have a mindset similar like yours, where there are the correct values that have been instilled at the grounds of the business.
You know, like I said, no one's perfect. Everybody gets stressed sometimes or whatever. It's just how you do it. You know, you say, you know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put that there or say that thing. I was, you know, it's a heat of the moment, you know, and we can eradicate these things very quickly. So yeah, it's just about trying to be better, isn't it? That's all it is. None of us are perfect.
100%, 100%. Let's talk a little bit about how you got to where you are and how much your health, or rather the lack of, over time was a catalyst in that. Yeah,
interesting. I was living in Australia at this time. I woke up one morning and all I can imagine, the way I explain kind of my health kind of, it's quite deep and quite traumatic, but I woke up and I've never felt, and I can handle quite a lot of, you know, I'm not soft, I can handle quite a lot and still keep working and working to my detriment actually. That's one thing I do regret. I can just work through anything. I woke up one morning where I've never felt pain like it in my life, just out of the blue.
All over.
Yeah, all over. If you imagine when you used to party when you were younger, the worst hangover you've ever had, times it by about 20. And that's what it felt like. And I'm riddled with pain. And it just came out of nowhere. And I was just like, oh my God, I just feel so ill, like so ill inside. And I used to explain to doctors, it feels like spiders are eating my body.
Oh my God.
And no one could correlate to this. You know, we're talking about 10 years ago here now where, you know, especially being a man, there was no understanding for mental health or physical health, you know, and now we're in a world, you know, and very fortunate that our friendship circle and people we know, it's all about like understanding health and all these things. There was nothing around that. So I used to, and I'm not even joking here, I used to cover my legs in heat rub. I used to put bandages on them because I couldn't really walk. And I used to go to work, and I don't know how I used to have to hold the railing to climb up the stairs to work because I didn't know what was happening to me, right? And then on my days off, I'd try and go to the doctors and they couldn't find out what it was. And I'll kind of fast forward this. I'll kind of like, it'll take me ages, otherwise I'll condense it. And they were giving me like painkillers. I was like, this is doing nothing. Like I need something. Like I couldn't concentrate. I was so angry inside, like because I was in so much pain. It felt like my head was just being like, it was just constant though, like nothing, it would not, you know, like sometimes you feel a bit crappy and then you drink something, you eat something and you have a paracetamol, you feel a bit better. This was just relentless. It was every single day. It wouldn't stop. So that's when I was like, spent a year basically trying to find out what it was.
With this pain? With this
pain, yeah. Doctors couldn't find out what it was, and then they put me on, and to be fair to them, I couldn't survive, so I was like, I need something, like I can't deal with this pain, and then they put me on opioids, an opioid called gabapentin, which is for people with epilepsy and neuropathic pain, and that helped a little bit of pain, but I was on lots of them, so obviously you get side effects at the same time. And all this time I was pretending I was fine, because I was working in kitchens, like, and you don't really moan about, you just carry on. Until when I'm quite a competent chef, like I know my level, I'm not deluded. At that time I was working at quite a high level, and then all of a sudden all these weird things started to happen to me, where like if we were going on like 2 pieces of fish, I would only bring 1 up to the pass. If we were going on like a table of 5, I would put 4 plates on the pass. I started to like lose my memory. And I was 24, 25 at this point, so you can imagine how like scary and lonely it was, because I was like, what the hell's happening to me? This is so weird. And then I'm thinking, oh, am I losing my mind? Because people are looking at me, like 18-year-old chefs are like looking at me going, Kirk, like we're going on a table of 4, mate. I'd be like, oh shit, like, but I would never do that before. So all these like invisible things, I always just say it's like a ghost was living inside my body and maneuvering all these things without my control, but I was doing them. Weird, right?
Yeah.
So I was having all these scans on my days off, spending thousands of pounds trying to like having scans on my spine, on my legs, and they were all coming back clear. So my dad was like, Kirk, I can't help you if you're at the other side of the world. So I had to move back to England. And I was pretty settled in Australia then, you know, I'd been there 4 years, I created a new life myself, new friends, all that sort of thing. I had a girlfriend at the time there. So I had to move back to England, and then we continued that journey going from doctor to doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist to specialist. Every week. By this point I was on a lot of gabapentin, so I was still working because I was like, I can't just stay at home. I don't know what it is. And again, my mind was very different to what it is now. And the doctors again, same thing. Oh, just carry on taking gabapentin, like it's not a bad drug, all this sort of thing. And I was like, okay. Now I started to research. It kind of is bad.
No.
And I don't want to be in this for the rest of my life. Anyway, so we dealt with about 4 years of this. Me and my dad came to every appointment with me. And the last appointment was here in London. I was living up north then. And I had an appointment with a neurologist. And so every time I saw a neurologist, they hadn't passed the information on. So I'd have to share basically this, what I'm telling you, times 10 of the whole journey of how it started. I basically broke down crying and I walked out of the room and I said to my dad, I'm never going to any of these people ever again. And he was like, Kirk, you will do what you're told, blah, 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 blah. My dad's quite mainstream. And I get it, he was just caring for me. It was traumatizing me. It was stressing me out.
Yeah.
Because no one was having any empathy or understanding or really trying to be like, I'm going to find it. I'm going to find this. It was like,
people
no.
are just showing up to clock in.
Yeah, we just don't know. So just carry on taking the drugs. So that's where the journey basically started, where I found out through research that I had Lyme disease, and I got tested in America and Germany. And there's many complexities to Lyme rather than just the name of it, which we can talk about if we have time, which is basically Lyme disease shuts down your immune system. So it's like spirochetes, they're called, bacteria that goes into your body like screwdrivers and goes into your bones, all these sort of things, and just causes havoc. And the scary thing with Lyme disease is there is nothing it cannot do. So it can be millions of symptoms, or it can be two things. Severe anxiety, severe depression can actually be Lyme disease that's causing it.
Wow.
A gut dysbiosis, chronic headaches, but you have no other symptoms. Vertigo, insomnia, all these things. But because we don't understand it, it's like fibromyalgia. What is fibromyalgia though? It's a symptom of Lyme disease. Oh. How many people do you think are diagnosed with fibromyalgia in the world? Millions. So these people, and I have so much, it makes me really cry because I have so much, I worry about it because we have so many people that are on this medication because they just accept that, oh, you've got this, so take the label and take the medication. That's you for life.
Is it easy to diagnose for Lyme disease?
What?
Well, once you say, tomorrow I want to check if I have Lyme disease, how easy it is for me to check that?
So it's very tricky because the NHS test is basically, it comes out 95% negative. So a lot of people, that's another thing, a lot of people have the test and they go, well, I haven't got Lyme. I used to have loads of people messaging me. I'm like, yeah, but don't trust that test. And the problem is the test to have in America and Germany cost, about £1,500. So a lot of people can't afford that. Mm. So they're just left on their own.
I see.
Which is very sad.
Yeah.
But I think Lyme disease and parasites and all these sort of things are all connected to all the modern day health issues we have today, for sure.
Which brings us back to food is medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Food is medicine. My mom always used to say that. In fact, I remember when I was really sick when I was a kid, we went on to raw food for quite a while, and lo and behold, I did get better. So I want you to maybe speak on a little bit more on how you discovered that food can be healing for you.
Yeah, and food's such a topic now, isn't it? And such a debate where
it should have always been the debate. It's like it's a car has a fuel, right? Food is our fuel.
Yeah, and I don't want to go into too deep on this, but I remember just looking around the because I spent a lot of time in hospitals. I remember just thinking, one, how depressing the place looks, and two, the food they are serving to people that are sick. Just doesn't make sense to me. And then we make up this excuse that we don't have money, but we have money for all the other things. Imagine if the NHS connected to organic farmers and biodynamic specialists and, put a juice bar in a hospital. And, I reckon that I would do that. I would consult on that for free. I reckon there would be loads of people that would want to change that and it will literally cost them nothing. I reckon the farmers would be ecstatic if they supported the NHS with some organic produce. Right? And I think that is, for me, everything. How can we still, at 2024, be serving that stuff to sick people and expect them to get better? And then it just fuels them to smoke a cigarette or, It's interesting when you go to a hospital and people are sick and they're smoking cigarettes. I always have that moment to myself and think, oh, I just want to kind of hug them and be like, please, I get the pain, but it's about making that change and having self-respect for yourself and obviously understanding what you're doing to your body. It's a very tricky one without kind of...
Everything really is about the stories. the stories we tell ourselves, the stories we have been told, and the stories we accept. So in our adult life, what we're doing is we're living according to these narratives and these stories. So as adults, we have the power, and I think we also have the responsibility to become aware of the narratives that we live by, and then question them, and then proactively choose whether we want them or not, and finally replace them with more empowering ones or more useful, beneficial ones.
I think the biggest thing as well is people don't know the power of themselves, you know, and that's because we're programmed into society where we get sick, we go to a doctor, they fix us, blah, blah, blah. And I had that huge...
And that's a story. That's another story. This is what you do. This happens. This is what you do. You've been told that story. You bought into it. You never question it again. And you go through all of your life doing exactly that.
Yeah.
Everything. And food. You're hungry. You go to Deliveroo. Whatever is your narrative, you just execute that. So I'm a big proponent of question everything.
Me too, probably too much. My dad's like, Kirk, why do you just shut up and do what you tell them? No, it's just not how it works. But yeah, going back to like food, and I'm very clear on this, like everyone's got to find out what they need. And I'm just a big advocate for whole foods. And if you eat some meat, I don't think meat and fish is bad. It's very healthy, and some people need it and some people don't, and our body changes all the time. So, you know, listen to your body and stuff, just cut out all the crap. You know, we don't have, I think there's so many things now, all these podcasts and all this stuff, it's great for awareness, but it can actually like complicate so many people.
Yeah.
Just,
too many contrasting
good.
Informations. Yeah, it's not that deep.
Stop eating sugar all the time. Stop eating pizzas. Stop eating blah, blah, blah. And just get back to the basics.
Yeah.
You know, and that's all we need to do, and trust in that. But also when you're going through healing, which is another kind of wake up call, is that we're so used to like taking something and within a day we feel better. And that was a big thing for me, you know, it took me 7 years of constantly trying things and failing or making myself worse from doing that thing that I tried and going again. And I think the healing journey takes so long, and we have to be patient, and we have to understand that there's no magic pill. And we have to figure out, and there is, when you start unraveling the wardrobe of the tools that you need to heal, and you go into as deep as how you were when you're in your mother's womb and all these sort of things, you start really like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. I know why I got that pain, because I saw that when I was a kid. And then, so there's more to it than just saying Lyme disease for Kirk, which I've constantly learned about myself. There are way more triggers, and Lyme disease was just the tip of the iceberg of my body going, Kirk, I'm not having any more of this. You're not treating me like this anymore. And that was the boom, like a bomb gone off, you know?
Okay, so how was that journey of the reversal?
In terms of
all the, let's say you had the Lyme disease diagnosed, that kind of
so before
gave
that,
you clarity, but then as you went on in that journey of healing yourself, you also unpacked and realized that there was a lot more to it. So I guess now, assuming that you're in good health and happy functioning.
No more medication.
Exactly.
Which took me 7 years as well, like to completely get off that. I got off it, had to go back on, all these sort of things. But I always tried, it was my goal. It was like, getting it down a little bit, instead of not just accepting. It was, for me, it was never just accepting. You take that. I was like, no. Even if it said on the packet, I would be like taking a little bit less and trying to just maneuver things, and then write down how I felt and journaling and eat something, journal. How does it make you feel? Does my stomach feel a bit sore when I eat that thing? Okay, take it out then. But before that, I think there's so many things that built up to that, kind of, within my childhood and them things that when I look back now, I'm like, okay, I just kind of stored that trauma or things I saw. And then the Lyme disease has kind of triggered some of it and made me realise that actually I've even got more things to look at and heal and them sort of things. My dad's an amazing person and an amazing dad, but he's very old school in terms of his giving is to work and provide. So we talk about love language or whatever, like emotional and all. My dad wasn't that guy. He's that person that if you're in trouble, he'll put 50 quid in your bank, or he'll get in a car and he'll come pick you up, or them sort of things, which is amazing. And, you know, he basically built a restaurant, you know, to provide for me, my sister and my mum at the time. And he was obsessed about food though as well. Because he always did say like, oh, I'm just doing this for you. I'm like, no, Dad, don't lie. You're getting home at 2 a.m, like you making sugar sculptures. Like I've seen everything, the dedication of my dad. And that's what's in my blood now. But my mother, and now I understand it now, my mother's not here anymore, unfortunately. She died about 7 years ago. Because my father was working and was absent so much, and not just because there's a lot of other internal things. My mum started drinking. So from a young age of about 8 or 9, I dealt with my mum drinking a lot, but I didn't. She used to just tell me it was migraines. And then we started to find like bottles of cider in the washing machine and hidden in all these weird places. And I'd come home from school and smell the glasses in the kitchen sink, and my heart would just drop. I'll never forget it. That's why I'm very, very strict on like never drinking around children, not being drunk, all these sort of things. And I think that's kind of come up more in my 30s. And I can't be around that anymore, which is very interesting. Like if someone's a bad drunk, I can't be around it. Because it kind of triggers me, and especially around children, because it's almost like I'm reliving that thing because I felt so unsafe. So I spent a lot of time when I was younger, like coming home from school, and my mum would be like led in front of a roaring fire, just completely KO'd, and I thought she was dead, and I'd have to ring ambulances and these sort of things. And me and my sister were very close, and then she threw my sister out because my sister was a party girl and hanging around with boys too old and smoking and these things that we do, right? But my mum couldn't handle it. So then it was just me and my mum. And I was a mummy's boy, a real mummy's boy. I used to sit and have a cup of tea and cuddle my mum and watch Coronation Street every night. But when she drank, it was like this thing that just kind of
took her away.
It was pushing me away, further and further and further away. And because I kept being scared all the time and stuff, I basically moved out and moved in with my dad, which actually really, really broke her heart. But I couldn't deal with it anymore because she was also dating a guy that was an alcoholic. I never forget it, you know, she was dating this guy who was 6'9", he was a postman, and he used to come to the front door with 2 bags of plastic, them cheap blue plastic bags, and they used to have them 3-litre bottles of White Lightning cider. Do you know White Lightning cider?
No.
It's a very cheap cider that's in England, and I just remember just feeling sick and horrible, and then it was just basically like too much. So yeah, and I was doing really bad at school then, being very, very naughty, always in report and detention. My dad was very strict on all that sort of stuff. So to be fair to my dad kind of sorted me out a little bit, put me on the straight and narrow. But what I'm saying is, when I look at that now, that definitely had, the things I saw definitely stored some pain for sure, and was a big part of all the other stuff, you know. And just working in kitchens and not looking after myself and all this, like just not caring for my body. But also the interesting thing, you'll know this because of Gebo Mate, you're probably a fan of his. And he was talking about what a mummy's boy means, and it really like touched me when he said this. And he said a mummy's boy is nothing to do with the child, it's everything to do with the mother. Basically what they're doing is using you as a protection to their anxiety and their worries in life. Now I look at my mum and understand the situation more, because I was a young I was 23, 24, you know, when my mum was still alive, and I was trying to understand why she's still doing this to me. Like, I'd pick up the phone, I didn't need to be there, I can feel it if she'd had a drink. Even if she'd had 1 glass of wine, I could tell, because the way she speaks is different. And it would push me. And I think that's why I actually moved to Australia as well, because I was like, I need to just get further as far away as I can.
As far as you can,
yeah. And I've gone through a lot of healing with that now, and forgiveness, because I actually felt a bit selfish at times. But when I look at it now, it was just too much pain. I was running away from the pain, for sure. I wish now I had the wisdom that I do now, and I could have helped her a lot more. But I just didn't know then. And there was no understanding for what
it's good that you could help yourself.
Yeah.
And so you can share that with your friends and maybe your future generations as well.
Yeah. But the emotional pain and mental stuff she was going through, I understand now, but I didn't back then.
Yeah, it's so interesting how everything kind of ties in together, you know, how the childhood influences manifest in physical, physical disease, physical sickness, and then how that, though, in the moment, you know, the number one thing you want to eliminate from your life is a catalyst for something really beautiful, because you're here today and you're doing what you're doing, and all of that is, in a way, thanks to all of those experiences that you went through, however unpleasant and horrible in the moment, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I look at everything that I've been through in my life and I just think, I look at it as a gratitude. Like, I'm so lucky, really. I don't look at anything that's bad, even all the pain. And, you know, like I said, I can take a lot of pain, but like I would never put that pain on anybody because like, I didn't want to be here anymore. The pain was so bad, you know. I used to ring up my sister, crying my eyes out, saying like, I don't want to live anymore because the pain was so bad. But now I look at everything now and who I am as a person and how it's changed the way I look at other people. And I think I sent you a text saying like, pain makes us a better person because it softens us, you know, and it makes us, especially
empathetic.
Yeah, and it's like, just don't be a dick to people. It's not that, you know, and people get, when I really struggle where like if I ask someone for a favour and they lose it and they make this big deal about it and I'm like, wow, like really, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
My lengths, what I go through for people now are just so far because of what I've been through.
Yeah.
And like literally people that I don't know, I help all the time, whether that's a message on Instagram through health stuff or whatever. I'll always be like, even if I don't, here's my number. I won't tell you how to do things with your health, but what I can do is tell you my experience and save you a lot of money because I wasted a lot of money trying a lot of things. And I think that's what I can try and do because I don't want anyone else to be so lonely and have to figure out the path like I did.
What do you think is your purpose?
That's a good question. What's my purpose in life? My purpose, you know what? Just to be healthy and try and radiate the future of food, hopefully. And really create something that's new and vibrant and exciting and just enjoy things. But health's the most important thing. Like,
health as well.
And I think people, you know, like, again, like stressing about certain things that we have and we haven't got. And, you know, like, if you have your health, you can figure out a way, you can do stuff. But if you don't, if you have 60 million in the bank, but you're ill, what are you going to do with that 60 million?
You're still ill, yeah.
And we have this philosophy, and I have to catch myself sometimes with work. It's like, and we like, work so hard to achieve this thing and then when we get it, it can actually make us really ill. I've seen it with friends, you know, with the stress and the pressure of trying to make things work, and then once we get that money or we sell our business, we're so ill and stressed and whatever, we've got so much healing to do, whatever. It's kind of a catch-22, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's so hard to work really hard, be super driven and look after your health and make time for friends and make time for a partner and, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
And especially in cooking because we open at night times.
Yeah.
Like my business wouldn't run if I opened at 9 till 4 every day. I'd have no business. It would not survive. So I have to get home at midnight. So it's like, it's difficult.
It is difficult. And this is actually, you'd laugh, but the number one thing probably that I work with people on in the coaching is really just to clarify their priorities, manage their time, and make sure that they get to do everything that they need to do, but in a sustainable way, long-term, consistently. It's a big one. It's really not that hard. Once you have the awareness,
Yeah.
and then you have the desire, and then you have some guidance,
Yeah.
you have a plan, that's it.
Yeah, and accepting
Starts
that.
with awareness though.
Yeah, for sure. To be aware of, and to be accountable. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I think with the health stuff, you know, we do a lot of, you know, like, I don't know, we're just like, oh yeah, well they've said I've got this, so that's that. And I'm like, no, but you can do so much more if you just like actually go, actually some of this is because of the way I'm eating, moving, living, who I'm hanging around with, all these things, you know. And it's difficult, especially, you know, I had it like from being a chef, you know, I was with all the lads and in the clique and all that sort of thing, and going out drinking after work and stuff like that, to then, you know, juicing every single day and not being able to hang around with any of those people because I couldn't do that anymore because it would make me more ill. And I already woke up with hangovers, so I couldn't drink, otherwise I'd be finished.
Yeah.
And it was lonely for a while for me, you know. There's a part of my life where I didn't have that many friends. I had my close 2 or 3 friends up north that have stuck by me through all this. And I had to create a new world for myself with friends that align with what I want to do in my life. Like, I don't want to sit in a pub and drink 10 pints.
Isn't life so much better now that you have this
Exactly.
circle of friends?
Oh, I'm so grateful. But that's created from the pain of my journey.
Yeah.
Again, so there's so many things and so many blessings that come from your pain. And I just believe that everyone's dealt a card for a reason. I was dealt this card. I was chosen to deal with this for something higher, for sure.
Yeah. I love that. You mentioned a vision. that you've always had this vision, but not everyone, saw that vision, which is a common thing that I hear as well.
Yeah.
So what was that vision that you always had?
I think it's just mainly the style of my cooking now. 5-6 years ago, no one really wanted to listen to me. No one wanted to try it. It was just like, oh, you're just cooking a few carrots. I had it from even my dad. Oh, shut up, you're just cooking a few carrots. You know what you're talking about. I'm from people, especially chefs, because we love the perfection of cooking a scallop or a beautiful piece of turbot or a steak medium rare and all these things. These are our chef things, right? So this guy over here is now starting talking about celery juice and cooking carrots, right? And it was kind of shunned, but I always saw and felt that my food was something different. I always did. And I got to a point, I think because of the healing and letting go of not needing to be around friends or this, I stopped caring I didn't need anyone to tell me that it was good. As long as I could feel that it was good and it was right, it was cool. I don't need people to tell me. And I think, again, the strength from that came from the pain of the health stuff, about really just being not trying to be in a crew or trying to be with a certain amount of people that are doing certain things, and just doing your thing, and then you'll attract the people that slowly start to come, the right people that you kind of want and need. And
do you and your tribe will find you, right?
Yeah.
I always like to say that.
It's so true. I think when people listen to this stuff, if they're going through this sort of stuff, when you're ill or whatever, it's so hard to believe it, but please just believe it. But give years for it to change.
So in fact, I wanted to ask you, if somebody's listening and they're really struggling and they're going through various challenges, be it physical or mental, you were clearly able to persist very long time until you found your path and your cure and your way out. So I guess, what was that driver, or what was that light at the end of the tunnel that let you persist?
Well, I'm very, with cooking and stuff, I'm very persistent anyway, so I think that's what gives me that. Very stubborn, really, really, really stubborn. If someone tells me, I will find a way. I'm very, very stubborn. And I think now we're so lucky, we're in a world where you can get a laptop and you can type in something, and you can go onto a Facebook group and you can type in something, and you can see things, whatever that is you're going through, and then you can speak to people and be like, hey, what do you do? Or that's all I did. And I started to email doctors and find clinics, even when someone said to me there wasn't one. But I'm going to find someone that will find this treatment that I've read about, Rye frequency or something, which is a quantum physics therapy which treats illness on a frequency level. And this was mainly treated in animals. So I read about it, treating animals with Lyme disease with dogs. And I went to this guy's place and I was like, hey, can you do it on me? Can you try it? And don't be scared. It's like anything, just try something. Don't be like, oh, it doesn't work, so whatever. You can't just try something once either. I always give myself a 3-month period, whatever I was going to try, where it was a herbal protocol with a nutritionist or a naturopath, whether it was something I bought at home, I'd constantly do it. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to at least do a sauna every single day because I know this is good for my pain, even if I feel horrendous. I got one of them, you've probably seen one of them tinfoil saunas. I used to have it in my bedroom. I used to go from the bed to the sauna, to the shower, to the bed. And I used to do it 3 times a day, every single day. Even if I could hardly move, I'd put it right next to my bed and I'd do that.
Wow.
And I would commit to doing it. And then I would try and visualize while I was in the sauna of me being better and cooking, all these sort of things. And just have faith, and don't have people around you that don't think bigger and that you're going to get better, Because I think as well, that's probably why I don't like labels, is because it's like an end game for people. It's I've got this. And it's great. I hear all these people talking on podcasts, I've got this, so yeah, let's talk about this. And it's great you're talking about it, but you can heal it.
Yeah.
You can really heal it. This doesn't need to be you for the next 20 years. And I don't care what any doctor says. Anyone. I have seen miracles. I've seen people get out of wheelchairs, trust me, that were told they will never walk again. I have seen it. And I think the problem is with the diagnosis is great. If I'd have found out, I didn't know how to treat things, or how to look at the gut and all these sort of things. But don't let that be the cap line.
Yeah.
That's the beginning. Now you have to find a way to get rid of that name. Right?
That's the starting point, not the end point.
Yeah. Where we're oh, I've been diagnosed with that. Yeah, my GP's in that. So I'm good now. But that's what most people do.
Yeah.
And that isn't a judgment, because I understand and I have empathy for people that we are living in a world where that's the way it is. So I just ask you to like question, there's always a way, basically. Speak out, you know, speak to someone. I know it's good always speak. I remember like first time I spoke out on Instagram like 10 years ago, all it needs is one person that's got like a retreat somewhere, and it's like, hey, I had a friend that suffered with this, come over here for free and come and hang out with me for a week, and you can have my sauna, you can do this. I had people that did that for me.
Amazing.
So don't be scared to speak out, because, you know, people will help you if you have the courage to speak out, sure.
Absolutely. No, that is great advice. And I love what you mentioned also about doing the visualization and, you know, thinking about how you'll be cooking and how you'll be better. It's so important to have, that's why that light at the end of the tunnel, that's something that you're going after. The possibility of you being better and what you're going to do after that it needs to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
You mentioned another thing when you were speaking. You said the future of food. What is the future of food like, in your opinion?
Well, I think future food, definitely we need to go back to the soil, for sure. Soil health is really poor now. You know, like back 100 years ago, there was no organic and non-organic. Everything was organic. Nothing was sprayed. Our food's sprayed really heavily now.
Isn't this, and by the way, I think about this so often, this epidemic of both the allergies and intolerances and cancer, the
And all
more
the
I
rest.
read,
Mental health,
exactly.
toxins.
It's just what we've been eating for the last 40 years, right? Like how it's been completely sprayed, and it goes back to the soil, right? And the soil depletion. So sorry to interrupt you, what were you going to say?
I think just try and create, you know, a better food system for people, support our farmers, but also support people from, you know, other countries as well that are doing really good things with food. And yeah, I think everyone just needs to come together a bit more and realise that food's such a catalyst for mental health, physical health, on such a big stage. And yeah, it doesn't mean you can't go out and have a bit of fun and eat a burger once now and again. You know, I'm not one of those people that's like, don't do everything. I mean, I don't, but that's just because that's the way I live now. I don't think that's bad, but the problem is with, you know, a lot of these sort of foods and chains, they're created so you eat them a lot more. They've got in them additives that make you want them to eat more. I always say, like, when you eat an apple, the next day you wake up, do you want to eat another apple? Do you think about that apple? Probably not. But if you eat like a McDonald's, the chips or the vanilla milkshake, like the next day you probably want another one.
Yeah.
Because it's created to do that to you. So to eat, and I get it, to eat good in today's world is flipping hard. I'm not taking that away from anyone. Yeah. It's so difficult because everything around us is like testing you, you know.
Yeah.
How disciplined are you? Gonna cheat? You're gonna get that?
Yeah, yeah.
You're gonna get that donut that you just
Tell
walked
me
past?
and my love for sweets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sugar.
Yeah. So now you don't, what's your diet now? Like,
Yeah, so now I eat like a whole plant-based diet, and I try not eat any white refined sugar at all. So just very, very neutral. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
gluten, meats.
I can't really eat gluten. Sometimes I'll cheat, I'll be honest. If I'm in a restaurant, the sourdough's amazing, I'll eat it. And no, if the sourdough's good quality flour, I'm okay normally. But I try not to eat gluten. That's just for me personally, because I don't feel great when I eat it. But I don't think like sourdough's really healthy for you.
It is.
I think it is, yeah. The fermentation process in sourdough is good if you're using good flour. Yeah, it's so delicious. Yeah.
Okay, sourdough's okay. And dairy?
I don't eat dairy, but I don't think dairy's bad either if it's good quality dairy. It just, again, makes me not feel great.
There's so much controversial information, contradicting information as well about pretty much every single food
Everything's
group.
being demonized now.
Oh my God.
Just listen to your body. Just listen to yourself. If you feel good eating, drinking a kefir in the morning and you feel amazing doing that, then that's probably good for you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think intuitive eating is
we're
where
so
it's at.
disconnected from ourselves.
Yeah, because even listening to the different gurus, the different things, prescribing the diets, prescribing this, in the end of the day, they don't know you specifically, whoever's listening or watching their video or their audio, and they have no idea, in essence. You know, they can generalize, which is fair enough, but in the end of the day, you know, you're a bespoke body that needs bespoke diet. So going back to that ability. And again, this is a different philosophy. This is a different notion. This is a different way of doing things that you need to I guess, buy into as well. Buy out of the conventional one and buy into that you actually do know what's best for you. You just need to, test and listen to your body.
Yeah, for sure.
So as we wrap up, I wanted to ask you for perhaps 3 most important, most impactful life lessons that you've collected over the years and you still keep close to your heart.
Life lessons. Good question. Life lessons. Life lessons. God, there's so many things that kind of resonate.
Okay, you can tell me more. You can tell me more than 3.
No, I think 3 life lessons is like trust your journey for sure. Use the pain as power. Like what you're going through, you can create whatever you want from, and you can use it to, inspire people, educate people, be a better person to your friends and family or whatever, for sure. And just never give up, like really never give up. Like if you believe in something, like I always say, like if you can, when you talk about what you love or you're passionate about, if you can feel, like I get like warmth in my body. I can feel it that I'm meant to be doing this. Like if you feel that, you do not need recognition from anyone else. Like you really don't. It doesn't matter. You don't, just keep doing it and stay focused on it and have people around you that believe in your dream. And anyone else that doesn't, just get rid of them. Like be very brutal with who you have around you. Like I'm very like that. If anyone causes me any drama, I'm see you later. Like Like I can't remember last time I had an argument in 10 years because I just don't have people in my life that cause me stress or arguments because it's a waste of time. Like if they're not making you better people, then you need to look at changing that. Yeah,
that's a big one when it comes especially to family and people that
tough with family, very tough with family. There's ways of doing it. So distance yourself,
Yeah.
But yeah, and not everyone's going to get you or get your journey, especially with the healing, the health part. Stop wasting your energy trying to get people to understand how ill you feel or how bad you feel. Stop wasting your energy on that. Use that energy to find a way to get better and let go of it. And the last thing is detach yourself from any labels. Like I used to have like 7 years ago on my Instagram, like Lyme speaker and all this sort of stuff, which is great. But what it's doing is like programming yourself, like I'm this, and you're connected to that thing. Yeah. Detach from it all and go on your own like journey and detach from all these things and focus on healing yourself. Because energy it's everything we have and it takes a lot from us. And it can be very stressful and traumatizing when you're like trying to get your best friend to understand how bad your leg pain is. Yeah. And really, they're never going to understand. They'll try a little bit, but only you are going to understand. As long as you know how much pain you're in and then you'll put as much effort in as you can to get better. That's all you can ask for, isn't it?
Really valuable.
Trust yourself.
Yeah. Trust yourself. It's a big one. Recurring one too. Thank you so much, Kirk.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Hello friends, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe and share it with someone. I would love to hear your feedback and suggestions as to what guests you would like to see on the show next. See you next week.